Disruptors and Curious Minds. Welcome to another promising to be interesting episode of Thinking on Paper. My name's Jeremy. This is Mark. We come to you every week, usually with a builder and a founder that is attempting to reinvent the world. We are waiting for our builder and founder to jump on the link. So hopefully he'll show up in a few and we can have a conversation. But in the meantime, I got some stuff to unpack, and I know Mark does too. So we thought we'd come on and yeah. And today's episode is sponsored by calendars. Calendars.
I like it. Advent calendars. It's a bit early, isn't it, for Christmas?
It is a bit early, but you said you had snow out there, right?
We've got snow out here. And can you help clear something up for me, actually, since we're talking about calendars and snow and Christmas? Because I booked us a guest for next week, and being a silly English man that I am, I forgot that it was Thanksgiving next week in America. And could you define Thanksgiving and how it is different to Christmas for
Oh my
us
gosh.
silly English people?
Wow. I've got an interesting relationship with Thanksgiving. Let me talk you through this. So the history of Thanksgiving, we're aware that there's this, this coming together of people in a new world, um, even though the people that arranged the dinner kind of took the land from the other people, but then invited them to dinner. And it was this whole thing of, hey, let's get together and hang out and celebrate our commandeering of your space and land, which, wow, that's a whole large topic in and of itself. But Thanksgiving from a marketing perspective gets really interesting, right? Because then you have this whole thing of like, cards and branded commercials and all of these things like, oh, today is the day to give thanks, to be grateful. This just one day. Who don't do it one day a year? Like, why is it just one day a year where we all get to be grateful? Let's do this every day, right? There are little things. There's magic every day that happens. So Thanksgiving for me is just getting together with family and eating a lot, sitting around watching a little football, just pausing a little bit. But I like to think about, how do you be thankful more on a daily basis or a weekly basis and not just one day a year?
Is it a bigger marketing budget than Christmas, or are these very similar? Is how you spend the day very similar? Or is it vastly different, cheaper and less?
No presents usually at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
No presents at Thanksgiving, presents at Christmas. Yeah. We'll
Okay.
send you a turkey, Mark, and you can jump into the fun.
Poor turkeys, yeah, they get a hard time, don't they? Thanksgiving and then Christmas.
Okay, for all 350,000 people listening right now, we'll move the conversation from witty banter into a couple of things. So actually our book club ties in really nicely into what was supposed to be the topic for today. We're reading Nexus, not the amazing book by Julio Tino, The Nexus. This is another amazing book by Yuval Noah Harari,
I'm
and
saying Yuval. How do you pronounce his name?
Yuval.
Yuval.
And what we're talking about is how the human species has connected and collaborated and coordinated to do really amazing things. And what we were going to talk about today was this company Martian, and they're still crossing our fingers that co-founder Etan Ginsberg will join us for a few. But we're gonna kind of unpack this in real time of what we gather Martian to be doing. And so how it ties into the book, this technology connects AI models
Yeah.
to optimize, to basically use the best of which bits and pieces, or find the best model for the specific question, for the specific purpose, without having to run all the models at the same time, saving time and energy, right?
Yeah, well, if
So
you were listening last week when we were speaking to Leonard Tang again about AI, check out thinkingonpaper.xyz to get that.
that
But
was a great episode. That was one of my
it
favorites.
was a
Yeah.
great episode, and I ran one of his tweets through a couple of AIs. I ran it through Claude and I ran it through ChatGPT, and they both gave completely different answers. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was just a way that I could have a, an API that would choose the best relevant language model for me, for my task, that was curated for the task that I have to perform, the amount of time I could save, and then if you extrapolate that out, how much time and money businesses could save if they had a way to use the best AI for the task at hand. And voila.
Well, hey, interconnection and optimization is the root of human nature and also technical innovation, right? Those two things kind of go hand in hand. There's some history here that I
Yeah.
was gonna bring up. So, as many of you know, I spent some time in the data center world. There's a data center provider back in the day, and they're still around today, Internet, that that came up with this network route optimization protocol, which, so they built data centers all around, and you would host your equipment in the data center, or maybe you would host your application on their equipment in this data center. And this technology would actually find the best route for the connections that you were wanting to have and the application that you were running on that. And it's pretty fascinating. And it goes back. So let's peel the onion back a little bit more and let's go quantum, right? And
Well,
let's talk
yeah,
about
there's a big link to quantum and integral paths and finding the right path.
yeah, Feynman's, path integral, right? So finding the right path by looking at all of them simultaneously, and then all of a sudden maybe the wave collapses and gives you the right one, right? So the analogy is there, and I think it's really interesting to think about how these would connect. My questions for Eton, if he were here, and hopefully he shows up, how do you connect the models, and how do you qualify the searches enough to know which one is better at which thing? So you let's use football in the European sense, right? So you've got a footballer, or you've got a couple of
Do you mean
footballers.
football in the footballing sense?
No, in your sense. In your sense.
That's what I mean. Football is football.
Yeah, but to me, it's different football, but this is your football sense.
Yeah.
Um, so the qualities of a great football player, like who's the best football player? Okay, well, what does that mean? Maybe this guy's faster. Maybe this guy is more accurate in his corner kicks. Maybe this guy's a better defender. Maybe this guy has better field vision, right? So what are those qualities that Martian has to analyze the Claudes, the GPT-4s, and all of that?
Well, in your analogy, I like your analogy, but there's also kind of a personal view on that, because nobody would say the same footballer is the best. There's kind of like how they perform, the artistic vision, the creativity come into it. There's like a human element which makes a difference as well. Maybe we should say that I think at the moment, and obviously would ask Ethan if we're wrong about this, but this is mostly a tool that's being used for developing code rather than being used for choosing footballers or writing a story. I don't know, perhaps there's more to it than that. I'll just read from a press release that Martian put out. In March 2023, Martian released the first commercial large language model router. At the time, the concept of a model router, which routes, I'm going to call it a router,
Router.
which routes each prompt between various models, was virtually unheard of. Since then, the platform has grown. Now, engineers at over 300 companies, including Amazon, use Martian to achieve high performance and lower costs with greater security and reliability. So, from that, I read that it's mostly as a developer tool, but obviously there will be other use cases beyond that once it gets wielded out.
Yeah, we did get an update, and we will hopefully be seeing someone from Martian here shortly. So let's keep talking through this as we set the stage for this conversation. I think, like,
Oh no, I've got a question. I'm going to interrupt you there, Jeremy. Okay, so one of the things about learning is maybe if you try and get the answer wrong yourself before you get the right answer. So how do you think Martian choose the correct AI for the correct task? What do you think's going on behind the scenes of these APIs?
well, here's what I would do, and I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not a large language modeler person. I'm not, you know, uh, any of those things. I'm a curious mind, right? So the way my curious mind would operate is, okay, let's look at, like, say there's 4 models, right? And what does each of those models do better than the other model? let's look at that thing. And then that's also on the question side, on the front end side, on the prompt side, what prompts require one thing over another. So I noticed on the Martian website there was talk like one of the qualifiers might be like, is there a foreign language piece to this particular prompt entry, right? And then maybe there's a foreign language. Maybe one model is better at certain foreign languages, one isn't. But that's a ton of information to like figure out, right? So how do you figure that out, or does that get figured out as it goes? Does it learn to find the best optimization, best route possible? I don't know.
It being what? Like, is this a third party AI which is deciding what the best AI is? Is this like yeah, how? What is it?
Yeah, it's what powers Martian. It's what
Yeah.
powers. It's the secret sauce, right? So we got a all right. Excellent football analogy. Thanks for the comment. Challenge to pick the best player ever, and I'm gonna lean on you initially, Mark, on this one. So Pele, Messi, Beckham.
Well, at first I would say Beckham doesn't belong in that phrase, but
Woo!
okay.
Okay.
It's
Shots fired.
obviously an English person.
No Mbappe. I didn't see Mbappe on there.
Too young. I mean, he's
Hasn't
too young to.
body of work is not there yet.
No, his body of work is fine. He's won the World Cup. He's scored 3, got a hat trick in the final. He's the only person to do that. He's won the French league a million times, but he's just too young to. I think the end of his career. If he wins some more, then he can be included in that conversation. But right now, I would. It's Messi, isn't it?
Pele has a little bit more of like this, I don't know, cultural mystique to him, I think.
Of course, it's the exoticism and the romance of a bygone era.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's
Yeah.
it's
Hopefully,
like
well,
the
we're
World Cup. It's like football. When you do you remember when you were young and you'd see like the World Cup would be on a small telly in the corner of a bar, it'd be all fuzzy and the picture would be all blurred, and it was just like that was what football used to be, and now it's all high definition everywhere. It's lost some of that exotic, you know, romance it once
needs to
had.
be more analog, right?
It used to be
Well,
more
so I
analog.
unfortunately I can't see on this comment here. I can't see the name. The name just says LinkedIn user. So imagine LinkedIn blocking yet another thing we're trying to do here. But I don't have your name, but if you what do you think as far as the best player goes? We'll leave that in the comment chat thread. For those of you expecting connected route optimization for AI models, we're gonna get there. But we're starting with the best footballers and using these analogies.
Why don't we talk about the Martian in Martian? Because it's not about the little green men from outer space. It's not named after that, is it?
Let's talk about that. And this almost goes back to the first Nexus book, Julio Otino's book, The Nexus, that talked about Bauhaus and all of these like what was the Midnights or the Moonlight
The Moonlight Society in
Moonlight
Birmingham. Yeah,
Society. Yeah, where people would get together and it was almost this mastermind where people get together because they want to learn, they want to share, they don't want to be right, they want to understand, which is really awesome. Which it sounds like this group of what Hungarian Americans.
Hungarians, the Martians, a 20th century group of. Well, you had John von Neumann, Paul
He's
Erdos,
done a
Leo.
few things. Yeah,
Yeah, well, this is again linking the dots. We've spoken about John von Neumann. I think he's a guy, von Neumann probes. We've spoken about that. Paul Erdos was a polymath. We've done a show on polymaths, like linking the dots all the time. The Nexus.
yeah,
I love that. Yeah, it is very Nexus, isn't it?
absolutely. Let's see here. Yeah, off we go.
Have we got someone from Martian?
We're let's see. We're looking for this person, Yash. Yash might be joining us. Hopefully we'll see. What do you think's important about something like Martian, something like this interconnected ability to find the right way quickly, right? That's the core of this thing, right? Find the best way quickly of something. It's again human nature. It's the premise of technological innovation. Like what does this mean for Mark Fielding right now? Like where does this land?
I've got a good friend who is a developer, just one friend who is a developer, and he's up on technology as well. He was using AI to help him in his job 2 years ago, possibly. He's very up to date, and he has been using it to help him. And financially, he's doing great because he's doing a lot more work than he was with the help of AI. And I think that he has, for quite a while, been using a different AI. He hasn't been using ChatGPT or Claude. He's been using a different one that's specifically made for developers. It's called Windsurf or something. And he's done that because there wasn't a solution. Like he's trial and error, finding the best one as these models keep getting updated by trial and error. He's finding the one that best suits him. And if all the developers are doing that, the amount of time that they're spending doing that, and this would cut that dramatically. So for me, that's where it sits with me. It's just one of my friends would love to have this, and I think if all the developers are probably using AI, I don't know, it'd be nice to get a percentage of developers that are using AI and those who aren't, and I'd be very surprised if it was like, I don't know, what do you think?
Here's where
20% aren't?
Man, I think all of them would seem to be at least noodling with it a little bit, because it's a new technology, right? But so here's where my head goes, and this goes back to your famous rant on Apple Intelligence, which is, if you haven't seen it, you guys should check it out. I can't remember what episode it was on, but it was wonderful for so many reasons. But anyway, I've been writing on this a little bit this week. I have a writing program called Write to Know You. It's kind of a critical thinking activation model. But anyway, I've been writing on shortcuts, like about shortcuts, and AI is a shortcut of sorts, right? But sometimes it pays to take the long way home, right? Sometimes it pays not to have this optimized shortcut and take the long way home. While it takes longer, you learn more, you get more context, you can maybe critically think a little bit and that sort of thing. And I think the future where we're headed is going to be like the really successful people, and success can be defined a number of different ways, but part of that success is financial. Part of it is having a meaningful life and meaningful work, but figuring out what to outsource and what to do your damn self.
Read the damn book. Read all of the book. No, no, no 15-minute book summaries. Well, maybe AI is the ultimate shortcut, isn't it? And I love your analogy there, because I was actually writing about that today. There's some report that people are reading less, and CEOs and founders are reading less, and people don't want to read anymore because they think that AI does a better job than themselves. Essentially, is what they're saying, that AI is better at thinking, better at explaining things than they are themselves by reading. Interesting segue into last week's question, which we are going to ask Ethan, and maybe if we're not getting Ethan, if we're getting
Or
somebody else,
Yash, maybe.
or Yash, we'll ask it to Yash as well. But I'm going to ask it to you, since we're on this, because we can rage against the AI machine for a bit. The question last week was left: how should we be thinking about critical thinking in education in the age of AI? And I think it was a very, very great question that
Hold on, let
left.
me get my soapbox here and make sure I can stand up on it correctly.
Well, you mentioned critical thinking. It's all about AI removes that, or a vast portion of that, and it does the thinking for you, and then you just get surface detail that you're probably going to forget.
Yeah,
So
here's my answer to the question. Newsflash. Critical thinking cannot be outsourced. Pause. Repeat. Critical thinking cannot be outsourced. So think about like our ability to think critically about something, to connect the dots, to synthesize information, to generate insight, is a pretty powerful human superpower, right? So if you lean on, what if all right, here's giant conspiracy theory question, and this might derail our ratings and audience and that sort of thing, but you know what? I'm gonna let it rip. what if AI is this tool that got sprinkled out just to make us all dumber and make us up, more, I don't know, more, or less willing to spend the time to critically think?
I just go back to Hanlon's razor. Is it Hanlon's razor? I just don't think that people are thinking critically enough to come up with that. Is that Hanlon's razor? What you basically you put down to stupidity. What is it's not reason. It's just stupidity that these things happen.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who weren't listening, critical thinking cannot be outsourced. Was how Jeremy started that.
Wait, say that one more time.
No, because whether you're right or whether you're wrong, critical thinking is going to be outsourced. It is being outsourced, and it will be continued to be outsourced on a level unprecedented in these times. So the question still stands: when critical thinking is outsourced, how do we adapt, change, evolve, update the education system to take that into account? Because I agree with you, but the kids are going to use AI. They're going to outsource their critical thinking. So how do we adapt with that?
Yeah, and here's let me add some.
Well, answer the question. What do you think?
Well, let me pull out my education plan here. No, I think it goes back to like determining when to meander, when to outsource something direct, right? When what to figure out. I think that's the thing. That's the critical skill. And how do you teach that? I don't know. You I think, I think journaling does a great job of helping people understand what's important to them, right? So if something's super important to you, Mark, you're probably going to spend a little bit more time on it. If something's less important, you're going to outsource it and kind of figure out what's up. We make like 30,000 decisions every day, right? The average adult human. And if you don't sleep at all, that's like what, 3 decisions a second or something weird, right? So a lot of these happen in the background. My choice to throw my hand up in the air, my choice to shift my feet, right? But I think writing can help you figure some of that stuff
Is that
out.
your choice? Do you have that amount of free will?
Man, we need to bring on Sam Harris and talk about some of that, because that gets deeper. But no, where I want to go with this too, I want to make clear that I think AI is going to be a helpful technology in a number of groundbreaking ways. I just worry that a lot of people think about it as this eventual easy button, and then if we get to a situation where we're trying to investigate big questions, we're trying to investigate like, I don't know, like big questions like, hey, should I start this entrepreneurial initiative? Should I how do I feel about this talking head that's telling me something about my country, about my, the political system? How do I feel about this talk, instead of just going, oh, there's my shortcut. I'm going to grab that little nugget, and that's what I think now, right? Um, that's the scary part, I think. Wow, have we diverted and diverged and converged and yeah, lots of stuff. Let's see if we have a Yash or a. Let's see. They're still looking. They're still looking for somebody. Maybe we might have somebody. Let's see. All right. Well, part of running a show, part of running a live show is the ability to pivot. And for those listening right now, tell us how you're feeling about this how AI is going to affect culture, and how that's going to change the biggest systems that operate in our society, right? And just tell us genuinely how you're feeling about that, because I think it's important to land on consensus when we're trying to peg, the relationship between technology and culture.
And also go check out Thinking on Paper on Spotify, because we've spoken about AI in many domains, haven't we? We've spoken about AI in animation and entertainment. We've spoken about AI in finance. We've spoken about AI in logistics. We've spoken about AI in music. We've spoken about AI in. Have we spoken about AI in material science? AI in quantum. We were connecting all the dots, haven't we? What have we not spoken about? AI in healthcare. Have we done that? Have we done a
To
show
a
on that
certain
yet?
extent, because Pillbot had uses some
Yeah, oh
AI
yeah.
tools and that sort of thing. So Mark, I'm going to ask you a question now, and you write for a large number of outlets and organizations, and some technical writing too. What have you been learning about in your research for some of these technical assignments related to AI that's kind of sparked your interest? That for things that you maybe tuck away and want to explore further later.
Well, it's quite small domains where I'm writing about AI, and mostly in AI and blockchain and AI in video gaming. I did some of that last year. So those are the two domains where I had actually no, I did some about AI in agriculture as well. That was really fascinating.
Was that the
It's
tractor
yeah,
route optimization kind of thing?
yeah, automation and feeding the world. But to your question, at the moment, the biggest thing I'm writing about is AI in blockchain and using AI again to sift through the data and to use all that information on the blockchain for more readily accessible utility.
What's the difference for from your perspective between data and information?
Hold on, let me check.
No cheating, no cheating. Close the
Viewing
book.
information as a social nexus helps us understand many aspects of human history.
I want your
Data and
definition.
information. What's the definition? The difference between data and information? Data and information. Data and information. Okay, data can be well. Information is the communication of an idea, isn't it, or of a story? The communication, whereas data is quantifiable, numerical. Um,
So
data,
data would be like a musical note on a piece of sheet music, and information would be the song played.
I don't know the answer to that, and that's why we're reading Nexus, isn't it? Because data and information are interchangeable in today's modern world. People store data on your computer, but is information is the information data? I don't know the answer to the question, Jeremy. What is the difference between data and information?
That's the analogy I would use. Like data is really anything encapsulated. We talked about this in the first episode of Book Club Live. Book Club Live. We're doing this stuff live as well, right? So um talked about data being kind of a border drawn around something, whether it's whether it's digital or whether it's physical, right? A letter can be data, a word, a sentence, right? Something you see is data, like visual data when you're walking, walking down the hallway, right? You see a bunch of things, that's data that you're intaking. But I think information comes together when that is all combined in a moment in time that helps you figure out what reality is in front of you.
Well, I've employed a shortcut, Jeremy, and I've asked Claude what the difference is between data and
Cheater,
information, which which
cheater.
obviously I will. I think I gave the AI answer because I said it's kind of like numerical. The key differences between data and information are: data is raw, unprocessed facts and figures, lacks context and meaning, consists of numbers, text, symbols without interpretation, requires processing to become useful. Oh, I like that actually. That one requires processing to become useful.
So
Although
that's
the
like the
information,
skit.
everything needs processing, doesn't it? Your brain has to process the information. So actually, I don't like that. Um, information is processed, contextualized data, has meaning and purpose, provides insight and understanding, can be used for decision making, structured and organized to convey knowledge. Okay, so that's why you don't ask AI to think for you.
Yeah, because you're the context. Like you provide the context, your experience. All right, so you have data. Did we talk? We might have talked about this in Book Club Live. See, we have data, we have information, and then I kind of extend that down. And Harari does it a little bit differently, but I extend that down into knowledge and then wisdom. So knowledge is the awareness of information, maybe as I think about it, and then wisdom is the applied is applying that knowledge towards something that that requires not only the knowledge but your experience meshed in with a situation in front of you.
So when you were speaking and thinking about what Claude just said, I was thinking of kind of Schrodinger's box and going back to quantum here.
Uh-oh.
And
Is the cat dead?
the cat is data. So it's data when it's in the box. It's data when there's superposition and entanglement. It's data in the box, and it only becomes information when the wave collapses. And
Ooh.
so if it's just there, it's like on a hospital database, my name is Mark Fielding, and it's there as data, but it's just in the computer. It's in the box. It's data. It's meaningless until you interact with it. Like like a quantum bit is quantum is meaningless until it's interacted with by an observer. So maybe data is like that, and only becomes information when it is observed and used by us. How about
There
that?
you have it. There you have it. Look at you applying your quantum knowledge. You just had a wave collapse right there, I'm pretty
I
sure.
just had a wave collapse.
There was a
Yeah.
wave
Screw
collapse.
you, Claude.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been an interesting conversation, Mark. Hopefully we can, maybe circle back with the Martian folks at some point. But
But let's just, no one's gonna listen to this. Let's continue on that data and information
ooh,
track, because I
okay.
like that. And
We'll keep
using
going because we can.
my analogy to, can you, because you're better at explaining the quantum stuff. So when I'm trying to explain about the wave collapsing, the data being in isolation, in it's the cat in Schrodinger's box until it is observed, then it becomes information. What's the quantum process that I'm trying to describe poorly there?
Well, it's the collapse of the wave function.
So that is the collapse of the wave function.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
data
I
wave
would think.
function, it becomes
Again, I'm
information
not a
when
quantum
the wave
physicist, I'm a
function is
curious mind.
observed.
But yeah, that's what I would call it. You look at it, the wave collapses, there you have it.
And maybe so the superpositioning of data is when you use that data to transmit information.
But remember superposition, transmitting, because so there are companies that have actually transmitted across qubits, right? But that information is data. It's scrambled. Remember, it's not usable information. It's scrambled, and that's why it works, because you can't distribute clear unscrambled information between qubits, or between two things in superposition. And I know there's a physicist that can explain that way the hell better than I just
That
did.
was one of the things we spoke about in quantum supremacy, wasn't it? About how they can, data that is gobbledygook can move faster than the speed of light between qubits or something, but it can't be sensical data that moving faster than the speed of light.
So
That kind of is,
what is what we're transmitting now gobbledygook, or is it sensible data?
I think
To be determined. What do you guys think in the chat?
a bit
Hit
of
us up.
both. It's entangled. It's entangled.
Yet to be figured out. It's our audience will choose upon wave collapse.
So I was going to say, it was quite funny about how he in Nexus Yuval speaks about most information being nonsensical, but that's for book club for another day.
But we do. When is book club, Mark? When is
Tomorrow live, book club live tomorrow, Friday the 22nd of November.
And guess what? Our show
11
prep
o'clock
does not
Eastern.
involve a third party. So we are prepped and ready for chapter 2, stories. Stories that, man, can we tease this a little bit, Mark? Can we tease book club a little bit in
Yeah,
this?
go for it.
All right. One of the things that jumped out, and we'll unpack this tomorrow live at 11 Eastern, right here. But the 3 different kinds of realities. And the one kind of reality is objective reality, right? So this is a water bottle, right? This is a water bottle. It's plastic. It's got water in it. I can feel it. It's physical.
Shouldn't
Objective.
drink out of plastic.
I know. Objective reality. There you go. Subjective reality. You punch my arm. Oh, I feel a little pain. Pain is relative to me, right? So that's subjective reality.
Right.
Get ready for mind blow. Like I read this word and I was like, whoa, intersubjective reality. What the hell is intersubjective reality? According to Harari, intersubjective reality is things like currency, nations, states, religions, things that exist only if we talk about them. And if we don't talk about them, they go away. There's your teaser for tomorrow.
Well, that just sounds like Schrodinger's cat again. They're only
Oh my God, we're back to it.
they're
We're
just
back to it
they're
again.
there, and if say that last thing again, that if you don't interact with them, they don't exist.
Yeah, if you don't talk about them, they don't exist.
There you go.
Like
Yeah.
the think about this, countries like United States, UK, countries are coordinated stories that create an intersubjective reality. Nothing physical. Sure, there's land, right? There's land you can point it, but the border is this. It's developed by a story, right? The crucial part is what stories are fiction and what stories are true.
We'll find out tomorrow.
That we will. Book club teaser. I feel good about that.
That's a good one.
Is everyone utterly confused, annoyed, feeling excited about what we're exploring? Would love to hear from you. We've got tons of other episodes. What are we? We're over 100 now, right, Mark?
100 episodes, not including book club. Yeah, 100 episodes. Guests in, gosh, everything: quantum, blockchain, AI, robotics, nanotech. We spoke to 2 scientists from Harvard, two physicists from Harvard who came on just to talk about the world. We had who else have we had on? We've had
Blockchain Gandalf. We had blockchain
blockchain
Gandalf.
Gandalf.
Right there, we've got some folks. So hey, if any of this is sparking your fancy right now, we've got a whole load of shows recorded on Spotify, on YouTube, thinkingonpaper.xyz. Go explore, put one on while you're walking, while you're driving to work, while you're on an airplane, whatever you're doing, walking in the woods, foraging for mushrooms, whatever it is. Put an episode on and hear what we unpack. We try to get to the bottom of the space in between technology and culture. Try to figure out what it means, not just for tech's sake, but like what's the world going to look like when all this stuff starts coming together.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Critical thinking audio. Yeah, check it out.
A quick shout out to our sponsor, Mark. Who is our sponsor today?
Hold on, it began with a C. Calendars.
There you have it. Be disruptive. Stay curious.
Keep thinking on paper.